and foremost, I want to welcome everybody and thank you for taking the opportunity to be with us on this Sunday afternoon. We're not exactly sure what kind of a response we're going to get. So far, it's a little bit lower than we expected. We jumped on what is called life size because there's no limit to the number of people, and we invited the active DeMolays as well as the advisors, whereas our Zoom is limited to only 100 people. So we weren't exactly sure what we were going to get. So we wanted to take the opportunity and kind of jump on and grab what we could. So we are recording this. We will put this out as a recording out in the stratosphere, I guess. But I wanted to call everyone together to give them an opportunity to ask questions and give us the opportunity to release some information about what's going on here in Florida DeMolay, especially since the quarantine and the pandemic hit. It's been kind of crazy, as you guys can imagine. The pandemic has hit every aspect of fraternal and operational life across the globe. So it's not anything that we are, blind to, anything like that. We all understand. But I wanted just to kind of give you guys some success stories as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on and share my screen, if I can do this right. All right. Sorry, I'm.
Good job.
All right, can you see that? Yeah, can you see that?
Ah.
Hang on, let me go to full page. View, full screen. All right, can you guys see that now?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so basically this is the town hall meeting as we called. We actually called it last Sunday. I was in a meeting with Dad Mike and Dad Chris, and we were kind of coming up with some ideas and things. And they said, well, we really need to do a town hall to kind of talk about things that are going on and kind of give an update on everything that's going on in Florida DeMolay. So I thought that was very important that we do. First and foremost, though, I wanted to offer congratulations to Mom Denise and her husband Sam, and to Grandmom Athena, because apparently on Friday, Denise gave birth to Margaret Elizabeth Mills. So we have a new member of our Florida DeMolay family, and I wanted to offer congratulations across the board to Mom Denise. It's a very exciting time, and I know that especially with the quarantine and everything going on, it's kind of a crazy time to be in the hospital, but things happen. The 9 months was up. Additionally, I want to offer our continued prayers for our Grand Master, Tommy Turlington. He had open heart surgery on last Wednesday, and he is recovering. He's kind of going slow right now. As of the most current update, he's not feeling too well, but that's to be expected. But he has been up and walking around and everything, so he's not in the ICU anymore. So it's good progress. So please keep him in your prayers. So back in January, it seems so long ago, we talked about Florida DeMolay with the 2020 vision for our next century. Did not exactly go as we had anticipated, obviously, because the pandemic and the quarantine and everything that we had to deal with. But I won't say that all was lost, because we were able to make some great progress. Granted, 2020 did not go the way that we necessarily wanted it to go, but we were able to come up with some contingency plans and some great progress, and that's what the purpose of this town hall meeting is today, to share. Honestly, this would be the rating that I think most people would give. Some people have had decent progress, whatever, but I think overall it's kind of sucked for everybody. But I wanted to report that Florida DeMolay used this opportunity for a rededicated and renewed approach to our fraternal findings, looking at the opportunity to have the conclave at home. Really kind of gave us an insight to the fact that, maybe the paradigm that we laid out in the 60s is no longer valid. What do we need to do? What do we need to start looking at for revamping our program for the generations of youth to come? And so throughout this whole quarantine, we had to really deal with, going with a virtual option, whether it be Zoom or any of the other online versions. We had to deal with special dispensations and fraternal directives, social distancing, for ritualistic considerations, spacing out the officers, that kind of thing. And then not to mention the federal and the governor called local curfews. I think one of the biggest strengths and successes that we had was our conclave at home, because I don't think anybody wanted to make that call. As an organization and as adult leaders for a youth organization, we had to make the call, but I don't think that anybody actually wanted to. And so when we made the call, we were trying to figure out how to make it as good as we could. And I think we really did a good job. We were able to participate in some other jurisdictions' conclaves as well. Some of them were trying to keep it more traditional. Some of them just threw caution to the wind and just said, hey, we're going to do this. And, and we found a happy medium. Granted, it was only a couple hours, whereas, our normal conclave is a couple days. But, we got done what we needed to get done, and we were able to get a taste of what kind of adaptation we had to do moving forward. So our continued mission for all of us is to protect the people we serve. And those people we serve are our youth. And I have to include also not only the youth, but the adult volunteers. A lot of our adult volunteers are in some of the highest risk groups, for this quarantine. And considering the fact that Florida is such a large jurisdiction, a universal response, we couldn't go with a cookie cutter response. We're not, one of the smaller jurisdictions. We have a very active program, which is a great thing, but you've got to consider it, all the way across the board. So some of the districts came across unscathed. Some of the ones that really did not have too many chapters or too much population, but some still remain in some sort of lockdown. I know in South Florida, they're still under a curfew. So, like I said, there's all kind of considerations that we had to consider when we were making our plan. COVID-19 has completely disrupted our fraternal operations, but as I said in several of the previous communications that we've done, we will not let it defeat us. We will adapt and we will survive. Some of the success stories we have been fraternal first, not just in Florida, but across DeMolay International. And I want to bring some of those to light. The conclave at home, as I mentioned, was a tremendous success. We got done what we needed to get done. We were able to socially distance and keep the team together, the ones that had to be there. We did great. We had virtual chapter and manor installations, first time ever. The Infinity Project, which was to rebuild the districts and the chapters, has been shelved for right now, but we are going to bring it back in 2021. It has not gone to waste. All the announcements and the excitement and everything that we have towards this has not been deterred. We just had to postpone it a little bit while we went through this pandemic. We had regular JBU productions on Zoom. Dad John has picked those back up again. We've been able to visit across the jurisdictions because of our virtual platforms now. Some of the chapter meetings that I've never been able to visit in person, I was able to jump on, and I know several of the staff were in the same boat. The state line was very active getting in their visitations with chapters, and it really added to some of the touch points that we have with the local chapters. Quarantine events and guidelines, we had to come up with all kinds of new stuff, including merit bar qualification addendums. When you're stuck at home, what can you really do? We had chapters come up with virtual trivia and movie fellowship. I didn't even know that Netflix had a shared, thing. We're all learning new things. But I will say the 2 charters were approved in 2020. Edward K. Walker chapter in Tallahassee, as well as C. Allen Patterson chapter in Venice. They were able to go through the pandemic and really show some great success. And the staff and I are very confident that they will be able to succeed and prosper. And I was able to grant the 2 charters. Because Edward K. Walker chapter was technically already chartered, we gave that chapter, but we are scheduling a time for C. Allen Patterson chapter to have the charter presented. And once that is scheduled, we'll put the word out across the stratosphere and let everyone know. As of now, Florida has the 3rd strongest recruitment in DeMolay International. I know it's kind of weird seeing as how our numbers are still extremely low from normal, but everyone's numbers are extremely low from normal. We have been able to adapt, come up with some new ideas and new ideology for how we progress. And because of that, we're the 3rd strongest right now. And towards the end of the year, we're still going to have some more. And so it's just going to solidify our place, maybe even getting to 2nd. We have been able to come up with fundraisers for the State Master Counselor Charity. District 7, which is the Jacksonville area, was launched and staffed during the quarantine. Basically, Hurlburt chapter came back on and was able to show some promise and everything. So I was able to cut them off from District 2. And Brother Riley Homan was the District Master Counselor, and Dad Lou DeVroe is the personal rep. And they've been doing some great work. And then, obviously just continued progress and perpetuity throughout the jurisdiction. I'm going to get to some more of that in just a minute, but I wanted to take a brief moment just to kind of spotlight some of these that we have all shared in. Leadership is not a position or a title, it's an action and example. And I wanted to tell everybody on this call and everybody who will watch the recording that the success is due to each and every one of you and your actions and your support You do rock. We could not be the success that we are. We could not have made it through this pandemic without each and every one of you and your individual contributions and what you've done to support DeMolay and the overall fraternity as a whole. It's been tremendous to see. A lot of behind the scenes work has been going on, even though the chapters have been adapting and doing what they could. So let me publicly thank each and every one of you for what you're doing. So continuing the conversation on strategy and growth, I mentioned that District 7 was launched and staffed. That includes First Coast and Herbert chapter. And District 7 will include the counties that are listed there. Basically, it's the northeasternmost portion of Florida. District 8 has been proposed, but is not there yet. What we are going to be doing is cutting off Broward and Miami-Dade County once we are able to land a new resolution of sponsorship and letters temporary in Boca Raton. And we'll talk about that again, later on. We presented these plans at mini conclave, so it's not anything new. I'm trying to show that we are progressing, even though we've been in quarantine. District 9 is proposed on the horizon, but we're not there yet. We need to have some more chapter development up there in the Panhandle before we split it. Now, looking at the growth, this right here is where we started when I took over as the executive officer in 2015. And this is where we're going to be, which is going to be with 9 different districts. As of now, we have not cut off South Florida and we have not split the Panhandle, but we have appointed District 7 here, so we have 7 districts. And then once we get the chapter in Boca, it will be 8, and then we get some more additional help in the Panhandle, and we'll split it. So, what the original intent was, and this is fully backed up by the Infinity Project, was basically to make the districts travelable. So none of the districts will be too far for a DeMolay to travel, for a stated meeting, do the visitations, and have the joint events. And so, we're looking, we have such a weird shaped state and such a massive state. We've been having to do this in stages. And like I said, I'm very proud of the development that we've been able to make. And I can see the final stages where we're going to go, on the horizon. So I'm very, very proud. So behind the scenes, these are the conversations. Mike, can you mute some of the background noise, please? Thank you. Behind the scenes, some of the conversations that I have literally every day include some of these things. Fishback chapter at this point is inactive. We're not forfeited. We still have a plan. We're developing a plan. I've actually got a meeting with the advisors to try and rebuild it. We are going to try and take a focus towards the immediate area of Riverview and try and track down some membership opportunities there. Gulf Coast chapter has been inactive for quite some time. Leadership and Hollis both shut down, not because of the pandemic, but because of changes in the advisory councils. And so we're working on getting them reestablished as well. The reason why I declare them inactive is because by doing so, it buys us time with DeMolay International. If we were to forfeit, we would have to start from the beginning. So now what this allows me to do is either work with the chapter to declare them, back active, or relocate them or find new advisory councils. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Chapters under reorg, Paul Revere chapter in Tampa, they've been in reorg for about 1.5 years, going on 2 years, and they've actually done really, really well. They have already initiated 7 new brothers this year. And now all the brothers are on the process of getting proficient in the DeMolay degree. So I told the master counselor, who's my son Christian, once they all get proficient, I will declare the chapter out of reorg. They're operating fully. They're doing meetings. They're doing fantastic things. They've had more than 10 people showing up at regular stated meetings. So there's really some good stuff happening. Lake Sumter had some shifts in members and things, and we're trying to rebuild them. Marion chapter got hit with the hardest hitting, which is when the chapter majorities. 2 years back to back, the chapter lost 9, and then I think it was like 12 or 13 the following year. So with that much of a base going, the chapter has to go into reorganization to come up with a new plan for development. So that's what we're working on. And Sarasota chapter is working to rebuild the advisory council now so that they can continue on and start recruiting new members. The reactivated chapter, South Miami, this is kind of what I'm talking about. I've spent the time rebuilding and recruiting a new advisory council. and they actually have an initiation scheduled on the 17th for, from what I understand, 5 new members. So they're going to have their people going, you know, very, very soon. This is why I inactivate the chapters, because then I can reactivate them and we can start going instead of having to go through the whole rigmarole, getting the new paperwork and all that stuff through DeMolay International to get the chapter started again. It really does help out the process. New resolutions of sponsorship, Clearwater. We are ready actually to pull the plug, or pull the trigger, I guess, and get a letters temporary for them. They just gave me the names of their advisor leaders, and we have a open house coming up on January 10th. Tavernier is in Florida Keys. First chapter we've had in the Keys since I believe the mid 80s, maybe late 80s. They are under resolution sponsorship and training and recruiting advisors. Boca Raton, I've got the advisors trained. I've got the resolution sponsorship. We just need the advisor leadership. And Zephyr Hills, I'm working on. I may be relocating leadership chapter to Zephyr Hills. Not exactly sure yet. We were able to grab a new chapter with letters temporary for Jack Fleming chapter, which is in Cape Coral, which will be added to District 5. And then, as I mentioned already, the newly approved charter. So, you know, I do have these conversations every day. There's so many different moving pieces, so many moving parts, and having to keep all this stuff straight is what the executive staff is really working on. And I will tell you that is one of the highlights and one of the pleasures of being in these positions, is being able to see some of this progress and things that are being made. So what do we do from here? I love this because it's kind of a blank slate, and we have so much possibility of where we're going to go. So 2021, we're going into with a realistic approach, considering the fact that our numbers for COVID are still very high. They're still spiking. We are still under CDC regulations. Our governor has not shut us down. Again, I'm not sure if he will or not, but the CDC considerations for postponing or canceling, including the overall number of attendees, the number of people who are at greater risk, the density of attendees in a confined area. All these things have to go into the conversation when we are planning an event like Conclave or mini Conclave, or, you know, that kind of thing. With that said, you know, we've been making some very difficult decisions, as we talked about with the Conclave at home. So with that said, we're not going to have a mini Conclave. We just can't pull people together that close in that period of time. As I've already mentioned, we have parts of the state that are still under, not quarantine, but still under curfew. We have chapters that have not been able to fundraise for it. We have space and activity limitations, social distancing, all this stuff has to be taken into account. We can't pile everybody into the ballroom for either the initiations or for dinner, you know, whatever. So we've had to make some strong decisions with that. Also, the fact that if we do not have the attendance that we anticipated, if we continue on per the contract, we are set to take another financial hit, and we can't do that. So at this point, what we're going to do is, instead of focusing on having a mini conclave, we're going to focus on chapter operations, and we're going to set our sights on summer conclave in July. We have time to plan. We need to do fundraising. We need to revamp and rethink our approach. By then, hopefully, we'll have a vaccine and people will be able to get them if they are in the highest risk groups, and it is more conducive to having a success. So back to the question, what does 2021 look like? We're going to focus on fraternal operations. That is our bedrock. That's our foundation. We have to be building these chapters not only in membership, but also in operations. They have to be meeting ritualistically. They have to be doing fundraising. They have to be able to get out there and have some events, if they're able to, and be able to show some kind of success. District level conclaves. This is something that we are going to do. Starting in about March, we're going to be working with the district master counselors and the personal reps to put on some quality conclaves. Now, what will they look like? It depends on where we are with the pandemic between now and then. According to the Infinity Project and the plans that we have from the staff and everything else, we are looking at having ritual competitions and sports competitions on the district level, which will then feed into conclave. We've been talking about this for quite some time. This is our opportunity to do it. We also want to have an initiation full form for anybody who either has been brought in through a virtual obligation ceremony or short form, or new people who are recruiting because of new activities and things. So there's a lot of moving pieces, as I mentioned before, but we have a very talented core of personal reps and district master counselors, and I know they're up for the challenge. You know, I'm not the slightest bit concerned about that. The thing that concerns me is just the limitations that we have from the government, from the governor, and you know what the CDC says that we're allowed to do. One other consideration is the fact that the district level conclaves will not be as large. We may have to contract for some rooms at a local hotel or something, but the event itself we can have at a lodge or at a Scottish Rite or at some other Masonic building, to where we are not contracting for the food and beverage. We're not contracting for, you know, all that stuff that we ordinarily have to do. And so it will be a lot cheaper for the people to attend. The other thing that's coming up is our North Star. It's a centennial celebration. On November 19th of 2019, just a couple weeks ago, Paul Revere chapter celebrated its 100th anniversary. Because of the pandemic, we couldn't do a huge, massive centennial celebration. But, you know, looking at it from the jurisdiction, we had already talked with the state master counselors, or the state master counselor and, you know, hopefully the next state master counselor, Brother Wade, about setting 2021 as the centennial year. So what does that mean? That's when we will have our centennial celebration, which I will talk about in just a minute. Word has gone out this past week. It will be Memorial Day weekend, which buys us time to get there. It's going to be set up in a hotel. It's going to be set up at an outdoor theme park, Universal Studios. We've got some great stuff happening, and I'll let one of the other staff members talk about that in just a couple minutes. But what I want the chapters to do is let that be their light at the end of the tunnel. You know, yes, we want their operating at the district level conclaves, but we want them also to participate in the centennial celebration if they can. That buys us the next several months to be able to get further through the pandemic, so we're able to, you know, see where we are at that point, get the vaccines on the high risk people, and see what we can do to move forward. So focus on fundraising. That's really one of the biggest things that we're going to do. Fundraising at the chapter level means chapter viability. Your success and your ability to participate in several of the service projects, as well as, you know, if we are able to have our summer conclave, if we're able to do our centennial celebration, all that relies on the chapters doing fundraising. And so what the staff and I are talking about is putting out some FAQs and some easy fundraising ideas and things that the chapters can adopt to kind of help them along to, you know, even if they are quarantined or if they're dealing with a curfew, something like that, they're able to have some successful fundraisers where they're not out in a group selling tickets or having a, you know, hosting a big event like a spaghetti dinner or a car wash, whatever, when it's not safe for them to do so. So the staff and I are working on that right now. The State Master Council Charity, I'm going to ask Dad Mike or Brother Brendan to discuss the options that we have for that. We've got a couple great things that are being sold right now. And because of our electronic abilities, we're able to take electronic payment and mail the stuff to you, whatever. There's no person-to-person transaction that needs to happen. And of course, I mentioned the centennial celebration. This is going to be a big deal because we've invited not only Florida, but we've invited the world. Literally, emails have gone out to every executive officer in the world. It's gone out to other Supreme Councils like Brazil, Masonic youth groups in other jurisdictions. They're all talking about it. We've got commitments from the DeMolay leaders internationally to be here. There's some great stuff going on. And so I want the chapters and the chapter leaders to share in our enthusiasm for this event, because it really is going to be our North Star with what we're going to do in the next several months, because of the fact that there's so much excitement, so much opportunity, and the fact that, you know, a lot of the regulations and a lot of the guidelines and stuff, yes, we have to follow them, but they're being set by somebody else, the hotel, the theme park, you know, whatever. So we're following their lead, and we're able to have some great stuff. So the Centennial Celebration, as I mentioned, is called Escape to Florida, powered by Florida DeMolay Florida. It is the universal experience, and I mentioned we'll talk about that in a minute. It's a very, very exciting time. There's some great stuff coming up, and I take my hat off to our staff, Dad Mike, Mom April, Dad Brendan Blankenship, and Dad Chris Danner. They literally did a site visit to the hotel in Orlando, and really came off with some great plans. So I'll let them talk about it in just a minute. At this point, what do we need from each of you? First and foremost, enthusiasm and commitment. This is one of the biggest things we need. Don't get bogged down. Don't think that we're failing. Sure, our membership numbers are not what we anticipated at the beginning of the year, but the fact that we have come out of this literally pretty well unscathed says some great stuff about our team and the people that we have coming together. We need each of you to rededicate yourselves to the success of your chapter and your manor. We need the promotion and membership opportunities. We need compliance with local safety guidelines as appropriate, timely chapter and manor reports coming up in January, the promotion of youth leadership and youth involvement, support for the district conclaves, the encouragement, continual encouragement for your youth members, and engagement for our jurisdictional programs. I put our Grand Master's slogan at the bottom of this: live DeMolay every day in every way, because this is how we are going to come out and this is how we're going to do it. As you all know, at the end of the ceremony of light, they talk about all the candles going out. And I cannot imagine something as dire as that happening in our world. Just imagine a world without DeMolay. It's not a world that I think any of us want to imagine. But together, as said, you know, when you light that candle and you share that DeMolay experience with other people, we are one. And that's where we all have to be. That's where our minds have to be. That's where our consciences have to be. And we all have to be working together to see that all of those candles stay lit. Dad, Mike, that's it for my presentation per se. I will take questions at the end, but I need to get back to my screen, figure out how to do this, stop sharing, there we go. And with that said, I invite, I need somebody to talk about the centennial celebration, and I need somebody to talk about the State Master Council charitable offerings, and then anything else that anybody else has.
I'll go ahead and start with the charity real quick. That way we can end on the high note of the centennial as well. So as all of you have seen in the Meridian Sun, the charity, the SMC's charity this year is Shriners Children's Hospital for Children. Man, I think I have this together right now. And we are selling centennial items to support that. Yeah, Jody has worked on getting some centennial masks, and those order forms are available on the Meridian Sun. We will get those up on the website as well. And we are also selling the centennial plaques. These are 8x10, and they come in a natural gray and an Old English finish. And we do paint the cross in the middle. Those are $20 for the plaque itself, and $25 if you'd like a frame to go with it. So again, the proceeds from the sales go to the SMC's charity, which is Shriners Hospital for Children. That said, I will hand it over. I did mention this. Yep. That said, I will hand this over to Dad Chris Danner to talk about Escape to Florida.
Hello, everybody. First of all, let me kind of introduce myself a little bit. So I was an active DeMolay and advisor and Freemason and Scottish Rite Mason from the Detroit area, and I moved down to Florida about 4 years ago. I travel for a living I manage Broadway musicals for a living. So I have traveled to every state in the United States except Alaska, and to about 49 other countries in the world with musicals and managing different artists and things like that. So I'm not new to DeMolay, but what is nice about this is I've actually stepped away from DeMolay for 20 years with just my foot in the door, continuing to contribute to my chapter that I helped formulate in Michigan, Walt Disney chapter, and of course being part of the 1919 Club with DeMolay International. But Mike and April have pulled me back into the DeMolay world in Florida during this pandemic because they know that I'm home. Mike was my state master counselor while I was his deputy, and we have kind of grown up through DeMolay together. So I'm a new, fresh face to all of you. I love the idea of the sound of that, but so I'm just not some weird guy coming in and throwing an event for Florida DeMolay and walking away. But I'm very excited to talk about this experience that we are coming up with. Escape to Florida actually is a name that our state counselors came up with when we were looking at providing a social activity for everybody that isn't bogged down with the ritual and the mechanics of what DeMolay is. So we wanted to have an opportunity for the guys and girls to be able to come and experience this. So we have teamed up with Universal Studios. That's something that I do for a living, is deal with hotels and stuff like that. So we have negotiated rates as low as 49% off for everybody to participate. It was real important for me to actually to provide an affordable activity, but more importantly, it's important for me not only to celebrate what's happening in Florida, but also think big. And Dad Jody talked about that, and I think that's real important, and that was real important to me, that we not close our doors to Florida, but that we open up our doors and our windows to everybody in the world to celebrate with us. So we have kicked off our first annual international Escape to Florida weekend, which will be held on Memorial Day weekend each year at Universal Studios, or it may change to places like Disney down in the future. But you are going to start seeing, if you haven't already seen advertisements out, we are really pushing this week to get a lot of advertising to create a buzz. And so my encouragement to you is that you please, 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 if you see what's going on, share that. Share that not only with your lodges, your shrine clubs, your Scottish Rite Valley, or whatever it might be, but share it and let everybody know that this just isn't for DeMolay, but it is for everybody. I actually plan on bringing friends of mine that don't know anything about DeMolay and don't know anything about Freemasonry, for that matter, just to be able to share what this experience is going to be. In short, it will begin on Thursday night for those people who want to travel in on Thursday. No plans on Thursday other than a lot of pool time. On Friday night, we are going to go to Blue Man Group. We receive ticket discounts there. And then on Saturday is going to be the big event. Every participant is going to receive a free commemorative orange t-shirt that everybody is going to be encouraged to wear, so that when they're walking around through the parks, they can actually see each other, and that the world may know that DeMolay is alive and well in Florida, and we're celebrating, and that they can see this orange shirt and know how many people we have there. On Saturday night, we're going to have a video bowling night for everybody, starting at 10 o'clock and going till midnight. And then on Sunday morning, we are going to get up and actually have an initiation. The initiation is going to be fun and unusual because we are inviting state master counselors and leaders from around the world to participate in this, with our own state master counselor, deputy state master counselor leading the way in the degree work. We are about to announce, and we'll tell you here first, that the initiation is going to be in honor of our Grand Master, our most worshipful Grand Master of Freemasons here in Florida, but also our Grand Master of DeMolay International. And so we're really honored that both of them are going to be there and be a part of this experience. Following the initiation, we have teamed up again with Universal. They have a youth experience program where they actually work with young people on how to do marketing, and they show you the behind-the-scenes work of what is happening with Universal, and it includes a scavenger hunt back through the parks, so our youth can actually go through there and really participate in this, and then they learn how to do a presentation after. So it really hits exactly what DeMolay is, and I think that's really exciting. So please come. Please share and help us keep the buzz moving. We're excited that our Grand Master of DeMolay has actually approved the acceptance of this event. This worldwide event is going to be published in our DeMolay International Ambassador. So you'll see that on Tuesday when that comes out. And we're going to continue to hit this and drive this as much as possible. So you're probably going to get sick of seeing it, and that's good. That's what we want. But please encourage it with everybody and get those guys to come, and Freemasons and Friends and Eastern Star and everybody to come and actually participate. So there will be opportunities for lodges and chapters, star chapters and clubs to actually sponsor and be a part of this centennial celebration. And so you're going to be seeing more from that from Dad Jody when he when we wrap up all the details on that, which will hopefully be sometime in the next week or two. So I just want to let you know what's going on with that. I think Al has a question. He already pointed at the ceiling.
Yeah, thank you. I was waiting for him to unmute my mic. Which hotel are we going to?
It is at Cabana Bay Resort, Cabana Bay Beach Resort, right on Universal property.
Okay.
Walkable to the parks.
And so anybody who stays there will be able to enjoy the early access to the park on that Saturday morning.
Yeah, and also on that note, if our guests want to, they can purchase the tickets for the Volcano Bay Water Park, and if they're staying at Cabana Bay Beach Resort, they have an exclusive entrance to the park. They don't go in through the regular guest entrance. So
the cool thing about this is, you know, you're looking at Universal. Universal, by definition, is expensive. And the thing that I want to point out is that the Blankenfleet and Dad Chris have worked together with the hotel, trying with Universal Properties, whatever you call it, to get it whittled down as much as they could. If you're looking at the pricing, the rooms are set up there, but you can put up to 4 people in a room. So you take one of those room costs and you split it in 4. Then you add the Blue Man Group. Then you add the Universal Day. We are literally looking at hosting people. If they want to, they can stay throughout this weekend from Thursday to Monday and not cross $350 per person. That's incredible, you know, for something like this. Granted, families that have multiple kids, you know, whatever, but, you know, we're announcing this now in December to where that can be part of the Christmas plans, or that can be, you know, as you start getting your tax returns, or, you know, whatever it happens to be, you've got time to plan for it. Additionally, the chapters now have time to plan for it. Yes, it's, you know, $350 a person. That can be, if you take, you know, 5 kids, that can be a chunk of change. 10 kids, even better. But it's not something that is prohibitive if you plan correctly, and if you're, you know, we're looking at almost 49% off of what a typical person would pay for a weekend at Universal Studios. And the fact that it's Memorial Day weekend, that is a key holiday weekend for people coming to Florida, and it ties in with our Grand Lodge. Hopefully we'll have the Grand Lodge. And so we will be able to show anybody who's initiated, you know, we talked about having a Grand Master's class, and the question always comes up, well, which Grand Master, the Grand Master DeMolay or the Grand Master Masons? Well, both. We're going to be there at the Grand Lodge Hotel. We're going to do the initiation at the Rosen, which is about 10 minutes down the road from Cabana Bay. And so the Grand Master Masons will be able to pop in, you know, hopefully. We can do something special for them, likely, and I'm not probably supposed to announce this yet, but we're likely going to have the international officers there too. So we can start throwing a lot of this, you know, great stuff going on and make it really special for our DeMolays. And that's one of the things that we have to do, and that's why it's such a big deal for our centennial. And I applaud, you know, this came out of a conversation between, you know, the Blankenships and Chris, and they called me, they're like, well, what if? And I got to go back to my mentality and say, is it illegal? No. Is it immoral? No. Is it going to cause injury? No. Then yes. Let's do it. Let's make this as big as we can. We're out soliciting now. We're soliciting people to sponsor different things. We're going to have a hospitality room for people who are hanging by the pool. We're going to, you know, the Universal experience with the youth, the marketing thing. We're trying to get sponsors for that too. So there's all kinds of opportunities to get involved. We're going to have the shirts that Chris mentioned. If we're going to have a threshold, if people donate or organizations donate so much towards that, they get put on the back of the shirt. So we're walking billboards for them, you know, and this is something that can be replicated year after year after year. Like he said, you know, next year we may decide to do Disney. We don't know. This is the first time we've done something like this. Last year we did an alumni weekend, which was a huge success. This year, because of COVID, we were not able to do the alumni weekend, but now we just have to go, you know, bigger and better and see what we can do. Because of the fact that it's in May, we've got several months to plan. We've got several months to fundraise. There's no limit to what we can do except for the limits we put on ourselves.
You're talking about chapters raising money for this experience and then turning around and raising money for Conclave.
They can raise money for both at the same time. It's called budgeting.
We did actually talk about that
Yeah.
now, and I think that it's real important that Jody and the Blanket Chips and it was really important to try to keep this at a minimal. I do believe that we all are going to be itching to get out and do something come summertime because we have been cooped up for a year. And it is, I also think that many of Florida people in general not only have annual memberships to Universal or Disney, but they go to these places annually. I know that I go 2 or 3 times a year with just different friends, and this will be one of those times. And so I do think that that we're replacing with this activity as opposed to Conclave. I think that we're replacing not Conclave, but we're replacing one of the times that they probably would have gone to the parks. You know what I mean? And because we're fooling ourselves if we think that our guys are not going to Universal Studios every year if they're from Florida. You know what I mean? Because they all do it. Now it's just a matter of now we can give the added value to not only offering a discounted cost, but also the added value of hanging out with their other DeMolays, hanging out with other youth leaders, and then also adding the credibility of the opportunity or the event by inviting international officers, international leadership, and leaders from around the world. I think it's going to give it more validity and it's going to make it more special for them.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to talk about the value of the experience too. And Garlic, I completely agree with you. And that was one of the concerns that I shared as well, was what about, the fundraising for this and also for Conclave, because there's literally a month and a half between the two. So, we've got to keep that on the focus. And that's why I said, if we're going to do this and we're going to launch this, we as a staff need to come up with some kind of fundraising plans that are pretty well easy and effective. And as we launch these plans, we need to tell the chapters, okay, here is a sample budget for what you're looking at. And this is going to be, the weekend at Universal, it's going to be Conclave, it's going to be, whatever. You need to start looking at these kind of prices, because this is, if you want to participate in both, these are the numbers that you have to meet with your fundraising. Now, we have not, as an organization, taught our youth members how to be good fundraisers. It's part of the nature of where we've gone. However, there are some fundraisers that are seemingly easy. One of the things that actually my chapter, but the chapter didn't do it very well either, and that's probably my fault because I was working with them on it. But I will tell you, let me share my screen again. I want to show you what we're dealing with. This right here was a fundraiser that the band did at my son's high school. Okay. Basically, you pull this out. They were trying to get a trip to Carnegie Hall, and they had sponsors. They went to their grandparents. They went to their parents. They went to the neighbors, whatever, and had everyone sponsor one of these squares. I put this on Facebook, and I asked for our friends to help Christian and his band go to Carnegie Hall. Of course, that trip got canceled, but whatever. All the money did go to the band boosters. But I ended up raising over $600 for just by asking a question. Would anyone want to do this? If we get something like that for the chapters and say, hey, we're trying to get to our centennial celebration, or we're trying to get to whatever, and you start broadcasting that, you're going to see some success. There are also other things like we're in the middle of holiday season right now. The chapters can do Village Inn Vibes, or they can do Mr. Car Wash. They do something like that. A lot of restaurants do a civic organization night, whatever, where they give a percentage to the different youth groups. We're all 501c3, so we can take these as donations. People can mark them off their taxes or whatever, and as long as the chapter makes a statement of that is charitable, or the organization itself is charitable, the chapter members can decide what to do with the money as long as it's in their budget.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there going to be segmented value as well? Meaning, I live 15 minutes from Universal Studios. So, to me, it would not, and plus I have other obligations that I may be going back and forth between Grand Lodge as well. So is there a possibility that we get a discounted rate on certain events, but not
Yes.
by not going through the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris, from what I understand, even if you don't stay at the hotel, if you want to stay at your house, that's fine, whatever. You're still eligible to get the discounts through our rates and stuff at Universal. The only thing you would not get is the extra hour of getting in, because that is exclusive to people who are staying on property. So instead of going in at 8 o'clock, you go in the park at 9 o'clock. That's the only disadvantage you'd be at.
Right, you wouldn't be able to like hang out at the pool because that's for guests only. Things like that are hotel related. Other than that, obviously the initiation, the Universal experience on Sunday for the young men, the park, Blue Man Group, all of those would still be available at that price. I do want to point out though that price is good until April 11th. Once we cut off the price, once we cut the deadline happens. While we will not be accepting any more reservations, they will still accept reservations for full price, or I'm sorry, for discounted price.
Discounted price, right.
But you have to pay tax at that point because you wouldn't be under our umbrella of being a nonprofit.
Now, also, there's also, this pertains to Area 3. But because Grand Lodge is the same weekend, Area 3 generally gets incorporated in to help with some of the stuff there. So are we going to be able to have that availability to get the boys back and forth?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, all it takes is a little bit of planning, Chris. Not a problem.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to throw those up there. So.
No, I completely agree with you, and I thank you for doing that. Does anybody have any questions about what's going on?
I have questions, but not related.
Dad Growler.
No, I like your proposal on raising funds, but we have to find a way to get it out to a much broader base of Masons. I mean, I don't know a Mason at all who for DeMolay wouldn't kick in $20 at any given time. We just don't go out and hit them.
Right.
And we hit the same people over and over and over again. We have to find a way to hit the average Mason out there.
Right.
Can I offer a suggestion on that? So one of the things that Dad, Jody, and the Blankenchips and I have really been talking a lot about is how we have done business for 100 years in this world of DeMolay. And, we go to celebrate something and we go into a Masonic temple and we close the door and we have a degree and we call it a party. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important to think outside of the box for that, and to think about families and to think about different people that are not part of the Masonic fraternity. And what I mean by that is I love that square that you brought up, Jody. I think that's cool. I've never seen that before. But that's a brilliant idea, actually. And that's something that people can go after. It's like kind of selling chocolate bars, when your kid is 9 years old and they give you a box of chocolate bars and you take it to your work and everybody in the lunch area buys a chocolate bar for $1. You're getting money from non-Masonic people. And so I kind of feel the same way about this. Anytime it involves youth and youth leaders and helping young people be better, I think that we should think really outside of the box of our Masonic fraternity and really think about, reaching out and kind of breaking away from our norms that we've done for so many years and going after other people, like teachers and they have less money than anybody, but going after, people that are outside of our normal, that routine. Well,
I think that Dad Grolick is also telling us that, that may be our normal, but we have lately failed getting our normal. That's what he's saying, is that we need to get back to our roots and start asking, the Masonic people too, because they will help. Dad Dietzman, do you have a question? Mike, let's unmute Dietzman for a second.
I don't know that it's so much a question as it is a comment that I can throw out, and I can preface it a little bit by giving you a piece of good news, if you want to look at it that way. You know how many years I've been, hanging fire on sending you a resolution of sponsorship for Zorro D. Clark chapter, and that's been because we've been out of our lodge building. We've been a gypsy lodge because our lodge was damaged and we haven't been able to get back in it. Well, the good news is we finally settled all the lawsuits, legal claims, and liens, and we own our building outright again. Now, we don't have a certificate of occupancy yet to get in it, but we have made a giant quantum leap in that direction. So
Great.
hopefully before too long, there might be another Broward County chapter, in Zorro D. Clark, God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Awesome.
But the sponsorship would be North Broward number 404, and you haven't been getting much money or support out of the lodge, although we have occasionally sent money to the local chapter down here and whatnot. But there are senior DeMolays in the lodge, but there are also a lot of Masons who are not senior DeMolays and who aren't being hit up for our base. And I will be talking this up and whatever you come up with, trying to do what I can through North Broward number 404, which is also laying the foundation to one day propose a resolution of sponsorship for a DeMolay chapter in the north end of Broward County, where we desperately need one.
Agreed. Thank you for that. Does anybody else have anything before we start to close? I know we're about to hit our hour, which I appreciate. I purposefully did not ask our state master counselor to give comments up until this point. I kind of kept him on the back burner after a conversation I had with him earlier. He said he is not feeling well, so that's kind of why he's been muted the whole time. But he has been active. He's been involved in all these plans, and like Chris said earlier, it was the decision of the state line to come up with the title of Escape to Florida. That was all them. They've been involved in these conversations and the plans and everything. So it has been fantastic to be able to work even in the background. The main point of this town hall was to announce some of these things. First of all, obviously no many, but there is some great things happening. There are some great things happening. And just because we're not as active in the forefront as we have been in the past, we are every bit as active on the back end, and there's a lot of progress being made. And I'm very excited of the things that are being announced, things that are being discussed, the progress and forward movement that we have. I'm very, very proud of each and every one of the members of the team, and I think that Florida DeMolay is in a great place. Did I freeze?
Nope.
Okay, good. There was no response. So.
Comments? If not, we'll stop the recording and wish everyone a good afternoon.
I think Growlick's almost smiling.
No, I'm sitting here. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here thinking you've got us all muted. What kind of response did you want?
Here, I'll unmute everybody and we'll let them. Come on.
One question for you, though.
Okay.
Any chance of renegotiating with the Plaza on summer conclave?
Any chance of what? Sorry, we got the background.
Renegotiating with the Plaza.
I've got Gadlin working on that. Basically, at this point, they told us that they would, instead of using the force majeure clause for mini conclave, that they would recommend that we sign up for 2022 mini conclave, and so we're working with that now. But we need to look at the attrition clause and see if we're able to have the event as we have contracted as of now. But yeah, Lynn is working on that. Rusty's working on that, so we hope to.
I have a degree question. If you
Yes,
got
sir.
a second. Okay, so if are we allowed to do the DeMolay degree if we do it within guidelines?
Well, there are no guidelines, and that's why the guidelines that I put out a couple months ago were that we're only working on the initiatory degree right now. If you want to put on the DeMolay degree, go through your personal rep and give your recommendation as to how you're going to do it, and we will review it and okay it by special dispensation.
Okay, we'll work towards that goal.
Yeah, because I agree with you, Chris. I think that we need to get back to that. But at this point with the play, I can't see a way to do that safely with keeping social distancing and everything the way that we are.
Okay, I'll talk to Dad Michael.
Where does the money go to for the plaque?
It goes to the State Master Counselor's Charity, which is the Shriners Hospital for Children.
Okay. Okay.
We're also going to have Centennial masks coming out. I checked on the status of those, and they should be coming out shortly.
I was going to say we have a bunch of Chevaliers that live in this state, and a bunch of LOHs, as well as other people that are with DeMolay. So
Yes.
we could get them through that to maybe make a donation to help some of these kids get to this escape to Florida.
I think that's a great idea. I think we really need to come up with some kind of a communication specifically to the honorees from the past and say, here are several opportunities that you can support Florida DeMolay and lay them all out like that and see what kind of response we can get.
Yes, we could send them a letter. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, if nobody has anything else, I will call it quits, and I thank you for your attention, and I thank you for everything that we are doing, and it's a great time to be in Florida.
Great job. Great job. Great job. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jody.